Life today feels like a constant sprint: work, deadlines, personal expectations, and the relentless noise of the world around us. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like the weight of it all might crush us. But what if I told you that the key to thriving under pressure isn't about escaping it, but transforming how you see it? 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Stoicism, this ancient philosophy, offers a timeless toolkit for turning challenges into opportunities, for finding clarity in chaos, and for building resilience that doesn't just endure but thrives. In this video, we'll explore 50 powerful Stoic techniques, practical, actionable strategies that you can start using today to navigate pressure with calm, purpose, and strength. Whether you're facing a high-stakes moment at work, a personal crisis, or just the daily grind, these principles will help you not only survive but truly flourish. Let's dive in. The dichotomy of control is one of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers for navigating life's challenges. At its core, this principle teaches us to differentiate between what is within our control and what lies beyond it. Think about it. So much of what causes us stress and anxiety stems from trying to control things we simply can't, like other people's opinions, the weather, or even the past. But when we shift our focus to what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and responses, we reclaim our power and find clarity in the chaos. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it perfectly: some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that while we can't always change external events, we can change how we interpret and respond to them. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're dealing with a difficult boss, someone who seems to criticize your work no matter how hard you try. It's easy to feel frustrated, powerless, or even resentful. But here's where the dichotomy of control comes in. You can't control your boss's behavior or attitude, but you can control how you react. Maybe you choose to focus on improving your skills, or you decide to approach conversations with calm and professionalism. By redirecting your energy toward what's within your control, you not only reduce your stress but also open yourself to growth and resilience. So take a moment to reflect. In your own life, what are the areas where you're trying to control the uncontrollable? And more importantly, what small, actionable steps can you take to focus on what's truly within your power? It's not about ignoring the challenges around you, it's about shifting your mindset to meet them with strength and purpose. The next section of our script delves into one of Stoicism's most practical and transformative tools: negative visualization. This technique invites us to intentionally imagine worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on fear, but to build resilience and cultivate gratitude for what we already have. As Seneca famously wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." By preparing ourselves mentally for adversity, we strip it of its power to overwhelm us when it inevitably arises. At its core, negative visualization is about confronting the unknown head-on. When we imagine the worst that could happen, whether it's losing a job, facing rejection, or experiencing a personal setback, we begin to realize that even in those moments, we have the capacity to endure and adapt. This practice doesn't breed pessimism. Instead, it equips us with a sense of mental preparedness, allowing us to approach life's challenges with clarity and calm. Consider a modern example: preparing for a job interview. It's natural to feel anxious about the possibility of rejection or stumbling over your words. But what if, instead of avoiding those fears, you took a moment to visualize the worst-case scenario? Imagine walking out of the interview feeling like it didn't go well. How would you respond? Would you beat yourself up, or would you remind yourself that this is just one opportunity among many? By mentally rehearsing that scenario, you not only reduce the fear of failure, but also create a plan for how to move forward, no matter the outcome. This technique isn't about expecting the worst to happen. It's about acknowledging that life is unpredictable and building the inner strength to face whatever comes your way. It also has a profound side effect. It helps us appreciate the present moment. When we imagine losing something, a relationship, a job, or even our health, we're reminded of how much we value it right now. This sense of gratitude can transform how we approach everyday life, making us more mindful and appreciative of the people and opportunities we often take for granted. So, how might you apply negative visualization in your own life? Take a moment to think about a situation that's causing you anxiety or uncertainty. What's the worst that could happen? How would you handle it? By exploring these questions, you're not just preparing for adversity, you're also building a foundation of resilience that will serve you no matter what life throws your way. There's a quiet power in how you begin your day, a moment before the noise of the world sets in, where you can choose to set the tone for everything that follows. This is where the Stoic practice of morning reflection shines. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple yet profound idea invites us to start each day with intention, aligning our actions with purpose rather than being swept away by the chaos of external demands. So, what does this look like in practice? Imagine waking up and instead of immediately reaching for your phone or diving into your to-do list, you take just 5 minutes to sit quietly and reflect. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me today? What kind of person do I want to be in the face of challenges? This isn't about overthinking or creating a rigid plan. It's about grounding yourself in your values before the world starts pulling you in 100 different directions. For instance, you might decide that patience and kindness are your guiding principles for the day, and no matter what emails or meetings come your way, you'll strive to act from that place. This practice isn't just about setting a calm mindset, it's about reclaiming control. When you start your day with clarity, you're less likely to be derailed by distractions or overwhelmed by demand. It's like setting a compass before a journey. No matter how stormy the seas get, you know which direction to head, and the beauty of this habit is its simplicity. It doesn't require hours of meditation or elaborate rituals, just a few moments of quiet thought to remind yourself of what's truly important. Think about your own mornings for a moment. How often do you start your day on autopilot, reacting to whatever comes your way? What might change if you took even a small amount of time to reflect and set an intentional tone? It's not about perfection, it's about creating a small, meaningful shift in how you approach your day. And over time, those small shifts can lead to a life that feels more purposeful and aligned with who you truly want to be. As the day winds down, there's a powerful Stoic practice that can transform how you process your experiences and grow from them: the evening review. This isn't just about replaying the events of the day in your mind. It's about thoughtfully examining them to uncover lessons and areas where you can improve. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, once wrote, "Assess your day at its close and ask yourself, what did I do poorly? What did I do well? What did I leave undone?" This simple yet profound act of self-examination is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, offering a structured way to cultivate self-awareness and intentionality. Imagine this: you've just had a tough conversation with a colleague or loved one. Emotions ran high, and maybe you said something you later regretted. Instead of brushing it aside or dwelling on frustration, the evening review invites you to step back and reflect. What triggered your reaction? Could you have responded differently? By asking these questions, you're not just replaying the event, you're actively learning from it. This practice helps you identify patterns in your behavior, recognize where you can grow, and celebrate moments where you handled a situation with wisdom and calm. The beauty of the evening review lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require hours of deep meditation or complex tools. All it takes is a few quiet moments at the end of the day to pause and reflect. Think of it as a mental journaling exercise where you sift through the day's experiences to find the nuggets of wisdom they contain. Over time, this habit builds a stronger sense of self-awareness, helping you navigate future challenges with greater clarity and resilience. So how can you start? Tonight, before you go to bed, take just 5 minutes to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, what went well? What could I have done better? What did I learn? Whether it's a moment of pride, a missed opportunity, or a lesson learned the hard way, each reflection brings you one step closer to becoming the best version of yourself. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress, and that's the true power of the Stoic Evening Review. Let's explore a powerful Stoic technique that can transform how you respond to life's challenges: cognitive detachment. The ancient philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea lies at the heart of cognitive detachment, the practice of separating your emotions from external events to maintain inner peace. It's not about suppressing feelings or ignoring what's happening around you, but rather about creating a mental space where you can observe events without being consumed by them. Think of it like this. Imagine standing on the shore of a lake, watching waves crash against the rocks. The waves are the external events, unpredictable, sometimes chaotic. You can't control them, but you can control where you stand. Cognitive detachment is about choosing to stay on solid ground, observing the waves without being swept away by them. This mindset shift is especially useful in managing stress, as it allows you to respond to challenges with clarity rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or frustration. Take a modern example: social media criticism. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or hurt when someone leaves a negative comment or shares an unkind opinion online. But what if, instead of taking it personally, you paused and reminded yourself that their words are merely external noise? By practicing cognitive detachment, you can acknowledge the comment without letting it dictate your emotional state. This doesn't mean you ignore constructive feedback. It simply means you don't let the negativity control you. So, how can you start practicing this in your own life? Begin by noticing when you feel emotionally triggered by something outside your control. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this event within my power to change? If the answer is no, focus instead on how you choose to respond. Over time, this practice can help you build resilience, reduce stress, and approach life's ups and downs with a calm, steady mind. What would it feel like to face your next challenge with this kind of clarity? Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the weight of your daily struggles? The Stoics had a powerful exercise for moments like these, one that can help you step back and see the bigger picture. It's called the view from above, and it's all about shifting your perspective to something far greater than yourself. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. This might sound intense, but it's a reminder of how small our lives are in the grand scheme of the universe. When you zoom out and see your problems from a cosmic perspective, they start to feel less insurmountable. Imagine standing on a mountaintop looking down at the world below. From that height, the hustle and bustle of daily life, the traffic, the deadlines, the arguments seem almost microscopic. That's the essence of this exercise. By visualizing the vastness of the universe, you can see your challenges for what they truly are: temporary, fleeting, and often far less significant than they feel in the moment. Let's say you've had a stressful day at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or a colleague said something that rubbed you the wrong way. Instead of letting it consume you, take a step back. Picture the Earth from space, a tiny blue dot in an infinite cosmos. Suddenly, that frustrating email or missed deadline doesn't seem so earth-shattering, does it? This technique isn't about dismissing your feelings or pretending your problems don't matter. It's about gaining clarity and realizing that most of what stresses us out won't matter in the long run. The Stoics believed that by embracing this cosmic perspective, we could free ourselves from the grip of trivial concerns and focus on what truly matters. So the next time you're feeling weighed down, try this exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine yourself floating above it all. Ask yourself, how will this problem look a week from now? A year, a century, you might just find that it's easier to let go and move forward. One of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit is something called Premeditatio Malorum, a practice that translates to the premeditation of evils. At first glance, the idea of imagining potential challenges or setbacks might sound counterintuitive. Why would anyone willingly think about what could go wrong? But as Seneca famously put it, what is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. In other words, by mentally preparing for difficulties, we not only reduce their emotional impact but also build a kind of resilience that helps us face them with clarity and composure. Think of it like this: when you anticipate a challenge, you're not inviting it into your life, you're simply equipping yourself to handle it. For example, imagine you're about to have a tough conversation with a colleague or a loved one. Instead of avoiding the discomfort or hoping for the best, you take a few moments to consider what might go wrong. What if they react defensively? What if the conversation doesn't go as planned? By visualizing these scenarios, you're not feeding fear, you're dismantling its power. You're giving yourself the opportunity to think through your responses, to stay grounded, and to approach the situation with intention rather than panic. This technique isn't about dwelling on negativity. It's about creating a mental buffer against the unexpected. Life is full of uncertainty, and while we can't control every outcome, we can control how we prepare ourselves. When you practice Premeditatio Malorum, you're essentially training your mind to stay calm under pressure, to adapt to adversity, and to see challenges not as threats but as opportunities for growth. So, how might this look in your own life? Take a moment to reflect on a situation you're currently facing, whether it's a big presentation, a financial decision, or even a personal conflict. What's the worst-case scenario, and more importantly, how would you respond if that scenario unfolded? By asking yourself these questions, you're not only building resilience but also reclaiming a sense of control in a world that often feels unpredictable. Premeditatio Malorum isn't about pessimism, it's about empowerment. It's a reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, we have the tools to navigate whatever comes our way. And sometimes the simple act of preparation can turn fear into focus and adversity into opportunity. One of the most profound Stoic principles is Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that translates to love of fate. At its core, it's about embracing everything life throws at you, not just the good, but the bad, the unexpected, and even the seemingly unbearable. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply inspired by Stoicism, once wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. That's the essence of this principle. It's not just tolerating life's challenges, it's finding meaning and even gratitude in them. Think about it, life is unpredictable. You can plan, work hard, and do everything right, but sometimes things don't go your way. You might lose a job, face a health crisis, or experience a relationship breakdown. These moments can feel like the universe is working against you. But what if, instead of resisting, you chose to see these events as opportunities? What if you could reframe them as part of your story, something that shapes you into who you're meant to become? That's what Amor Fati invites you to do, to love your fate, not in spite of its hardships, but because of them. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've just been laid off from a job you've worked at for years. Your first reaction might be anger, fear, or even despair. But what if you paused and asked yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this moment help me grow? Maybe losing that job pushes you to pursue a passion you've been neglecting or forces you to develop skills you didn't know you had. By embracing the situation, you transform it from a setback into a stepping stone. That's the power of Amor Fati. It doesn't change the circumstances, but it changes how you respond to them. So, how can you start practicing this mindset in your own life? Begin by noticing where you resist what's happening. Are you frustrated by traffic, annoyed by a cancelled plan, or overwhelmed by a challenge at work? Instead of fighting it, try saying to yourself, "This is exactly what I need right now." It might feel strange at first, but over time, this shift in perspective can help you build resilience, find peace in uncertainty, and even uncover hidden opportunities in the most difficult situations. Amor Fati isn't about passive acceptance, it's about active engagement with life exactly as it is. And when you start to see your struggles as part of your growth, you'll find that even the toughest moments can become sources of strength. What if you could gain clarity and purpose simply by reflecting on the one thing most of us avoid thinking about? Enter Memento Mori, a powerful Stoic practice that translates to "remember you must die." At first glance, it might sound morbid, but this ancient technique is actually a profound tool for living a more intentional and focused life. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. This isn't meant to frighten us, but to remind us of life's fleeting nature, a wake-up call to stop wasting time on what doesn't truly matter. When we embrace Memento Mori, we're not dwelling on death, we're sharpening our ability to prioritize. Think about it. If today were your last, would you spend it scrolling endlessly on your phone, arguing over trivial matters, or chasing things that don't align with your values? Probably not. This practice helps strip away the distractions and surface-level concerns, allowing us to focus on what's meaningful, whether that's nurturing relationships, pursuing a passion, or simply being present in the moment. It's about recognizing that time is our most precious resource, and we should use it wisely. Consider a modern scenario. Someone receives a health scare, like a serious diagnosis. Suddenly, their perspective shifts. They drop the petty grievances, stop procrastinating on their dreams, and start cherishing the people they love. Memento Mori isn't about waiting for a crisis to realign our priorities. It's about creating that clarity before life forces us to. So, how might you apply this practice in your own life? What would change if you lived with the awareness that your time is limited? Perhaps you'd let go of grudges, take that leap of faith, or simply savor the small joys you often overlook. The beauty of Memento Mori is that it doesn't just remind us of life's brevity, it invites us to live more fully, right here, right now. Stoicism teaches us that discomfort isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. This is the principle behind voluntary discomfort, a practice that might sound counterintuitive at first, but holds immense power in building resilience and gratitude. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." What he's pointing to here is the idea that hardship, when chosen voluntarily, isn't just a test, it's a teacher. It prepares us for life's inevitable challenges by showing us that we can endure more than we think. Think of it like this. When you willingly step into discomfort, whether it's fasting for a day, taking a cold shower, or even walking instead of driving, you're training your mind to stay calm and focused in the face of adversity. These small acts of self-discipline remind us that we don't need every comfort to thrive. Over time, this practice reduces our fear of the unknown and helps us appreciate the things we often take for granted, like a warm meal or a cozy bed. Here's a practical way to start. Try taking a cold shower tomorrow morning. It's a simple act, but it forces you to confront discomfort head-on. You'll notice how your mind resists at first, but as you push through, you'll feel a sense of control and strength. That's the Stoic mindset in action, choosing to face discomfort not because you have to, but because you can. What small act of voluntary discomfort could you introduce into your life? How might it help you build resilience or deepen your gratitude? These questions aren't just theoretical, they're an invitation to take action and see the transformative power of Stoic practice for yourself. Imagine waking up to a barrage of notifications, headlines screaming about crises, messages demanding your attention, and a flood of information that feels overwhelming. How often do we let these external impressions dictate our emotions, our thoughts, or even our entire day? This is where the Stoic discipline of ascent comes into play, a powerful tool for taking control of your inner world. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." At its core, the discipline of ascent is about pausing before automatically accepting any thought or impression as truth. It's about asking yourself, is this really as bad as it seems, or am I adding unnecessary weight to it? This simple act of evaluation can be transformative. Instead of being swept away by the first wave of emotion, you create a space to respond with clarity and intention. Think about how often we react to negative news, whether it's a troubling headline or a stressful email. Without the discipline of ascent, we might immediately feel anger, anxiety, or frustration. But what if instead we took a moment to ask, is this within my control? Does this truly require my emotional energy? By doing so, we avoid giving power to things that don't deserve it. We preserve our mental clarity and emotional resilience. Here's a modern example. Let's say you're scrolling through social media and come across a post that triggers you. Maybe it's a comment that feels personal or a story that stirs up anger. The discipline of ascent invites you to pause and evaluate that impression. Is it worth your energy? Does it align with your values? By choosing not to automatically assent to the negativity, you reclaim your peace of mind. So, how can you start practicing this? Next time you feel a strong emotional reaction, take a breath and ask yourself, is this impression true? Is it helpful? Or am I adding my own interpretation to it? This small shift in perspective can help you navigate life's challenges with greater calm and control. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about responding to it wisely rather than reactively. How might this practice change the way you handle stress or conflict in your own life? One of the most transformative Stoic practices is the discipline of desire, aligning what you want with what you can actually control. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea shifts your focus inward, away from the chaos of external circumstances and toward the clarity of your own thoughts and actions. Think about it. How often do we tie our happiness to outcomes we can't fully influence? Whether it's landing a dream job, gaining approval from others, or even hoping for a perfect day, these desires often leave us frustrated when they don't go as planned. Stoicism challenges us to reframe our goals. Instead of fixating on the uncontrollable, like whether you'll get a promotion or how others perceive you, focus on what you can do, showing up with excellence, staying grounded, and making the most of every opportunity. For example, imagine you're aiming for a career milestone. While you can't guarantee the promotion, you can control your effort, your attitude, and your willingness to learn. By shifting your desire toward these internal goals, you not only reduce frustration but also cultivate a deeper sense of contentment. You're no longer at the mercy of external validation. Instead, you find fulfillment in the process itself. Take a moment to reflect. What desires are you holding onto that depend on factors outside your control? How might you reframe them to focus on what you can influence? This shift doesn't mean giving up on ambition. It's about channeling your energy wisely, so you're less rattled by setbacks and more empowered by your own growth. It's a practice that builds resilience, one small adjustment at a time. The Stoic discipline of action is about more than just doing, it's about doing with purpose. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our actions should flow from a clear sense of who we want to be and the values we aim to live by. It's not enough to go through the motions. Every act should be intentional, rooted in virtue, and aligned with a greater sense of purpose. In a world that often feels chaotic or overwhelming, this discipline offers a way to ground ourselves. When we approach our actions with mindfulness, we're not just reacting to external pressures, we're making conscious choices that reflect our deepest principles. For example, think about volunteering. It's not just about giving time, it's about aligning your actions with compassion and service, embodying the virtues of generosity and kindness. Or consider helping a colleague at work. It's not just about being nice, it's about practicing fairness and teamwork, living out the values of collaboration and support. The beauty of this practice is that it transforms the mundane into the meaningful. Even small, everyday actions can become opportunities to live with integrity. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be in this moment? How can my actions reflect that? By focusing on intentionality, we not only create a more ethical and fulfilling life for ourselves, but also contribute positively to the world around us. So the next time you're faced with a decision, big or small, take a moment to ask, is this action aligned with my values? Is it serving a purpose greater than myself? That's the essence of the discipline of action, and it's a powerful tool for thriving under pressure. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Stoicism teaches us that silence isn't just the absence of words, it's a deliberate and thoughtful choice. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once warned, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." This idea applies perfectly to the way we use or don't use our words. Careless speech can escalate conflicts, create misunderstandings, and even damage relationships. But silence, when wielded with intention, can diffuse tension and bring clarity to chaotic situations. Think about the last time you were in an argument. Did the heat of the moment pull you into saying something you later regretted? Stoicism invites us to step back, to pause before speaking. By choosing silence, we give ourselves the space to process emotions, to reflect, and to respond with wisdom rather than react with impulse. It's not about suppressing your voice, it's about elevating it by choosing when and how to use it. Let's take this into a real-life scenario. Imagine you're in a heated discussion with a colleague. Instead of firing back with a sharp retort, you take a deep breath and remain silent. This pause doesn't mean you're conceding or avoiding the issue, it's a moment of strength. By not engaging in the immediate back and forth, you create room for the other person to reflect too. Often, this simple act can transform a volatile situation into a constructive conversation. So, how might you practice this art of silence in your own life? Start by noticing the moments when emotions feel overwhelming, when the urge to speak feels almost uncontrollable. In those instances, remind yourself that silence is not weakness, it's power. It's the ability to rise above the noise and respond with intention, not reaction. By embracing this Stoic practice, you'll find that silence can be one of your greatest tools for fostering understanding, reducing conflict, and maintaining inner peace. There's a quiet strength in recognizing what we already have, and Stoicism teaches us to harness that power through gratitude. Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." These words remind us that even the simplest aspects of life are gifts worth appreciating. By shifting our focus from what's missing to what's already here, we cultivate a sense of contentment that doesn't rely on external circumstances. This mindset doesn't just make us feel better, it builds resilience, helping us face challenges with a steadier heart. Think about it, when we're constantly chasing the next big thing, it's easy to overlook the small joys that surround us every day. The Stoics believed that gratitude wasn't just a nice sentiment, it was a practical tool for living well. Take a moment to consider how this could work in your own life. Maybe it's as simple as keeping a gratitude journal where you jot down 3 things you're thankful for each day. Over time, this habit trains your mind to notice abundance rather than scarcity, and that shift can be transformative. It's not about ignoring life's difficulties, but about finding balance by acknowledging the good that exists alongside them. Imagine starting your day by reflecting on something as ordinary as a warm cup of coffee or the sound of birds outside your window. These moments might seem small, but they anchor us in the present and remind us of life's inherent richness. Gratitude doesn't require grand gestures, it thrives in the everyday. So, how might you bring this practice into your routine? Whether it's through journaling, mindful reflection, or simply pausing to appreciate the people around you, the act of gratitude can become a powerful ally in navigating life's pressures with grace and clarity. Stoicism teaches us that the present moment is all we truly have, a timeless truth beautifully captured by Epictetus when he said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control?" This simple yet profound question anchors us in the here and now, reminding us that dwelling on the past or worrying about the future only distracts us from what we can actually influence. The practice of presence isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a practical tool for navigating life's pressures with clarity and calm. When we focus on the present, we strip away the layers of unnecessary anxiety that come from overthinking. Think about it. How often do we stress over things that haven't even happened yet or replay moments we can't change? By grounding ourselves in the now, we regain control over our thoughts and emotions. For instance, imagine you're having one of those overwhelming days, deadlines are piling up, your to-do list feels endless and your mind is racing. Instead of letting the chaos consume you, pause, take a deep breath, ask yourself, what can I do right now? That small shift in focus can transform a frenzied moment into one of purposeful action. This isn't just about managing stress, it's about reclaiming your power. When you practice presence, you're not just reacting to life, you're engaging with it fully. Mindfulness, in this sense, becomes a Stoic superpower. It allows you to see challenges as they are, not as your fears or imagination might distort them. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Stop, breathe, and bring your attention to the present. What's one small, meaningful step you can take right now? Reflecting on this can help you move forward with intention, one moment at a time. Now, let's turn to one of the most powerful Stoic virtues, courage. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of what courage means in Stoicism. It's not just about heroic acts or grand gestures, but about the quiet strength to face life's daily challenges, no matter how small or overwhelming they may seem. Courage, in the Stoic sense, is about resilience in the face of adversity, the willingness to confront what scares us, and the determination to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. Think about how this applies to modern life. It could be something as simple as standing up for a belief when others disagree, or pushing through a difficult project even when self-doubt creeps in. Courage doesn't always mean charging into battle. Sometimes it's about showing up when it would be easier to walk away. The Stoics believed that courage is a choice, a mindset we can cultivate through practice and reflection. They saw it as a muscle that grows stronger the more we use it, especially in moments when fear or discomfort tries to hold us back. So, how can we start building this kind of courage in our own lives? One way is to embrace discomfort intentionally, whether it's having a difficult conversation, taking on a new challenge, or simply admitting when we're wrong. These small acts of bravery add up over time. They teach us that fear doesn't have to control our actions. The Stoics remind us that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life could you use a little more courage? Maybe it's in your career, your relationships, or even your personal growth. Whatever it is, remember that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being steadfast in the face of fear. And that's a skill worth developing one step at a time. Wisdom has always been at the heart of Stoic philosophy, serving as the foundation for how we navigate life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered figures, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This profound statement reminds us that what we choose to focus on, learn, and internalize shapes who we are and how we respond to the world. For Stoics, wisdom isn't just about accumulating facts or knowledge. It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves, others, and the nature of life itself. It's the compass that guides us toward clarity, even in the midst of chaos. When we actively seek wisdom, we're better equipped to make decisions that align with our values and long-term goals. Imagine facing a difficult choice, whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal growth. Without wisdom, you might act impulsively, driven by fear or frustration. But with wisdom, you can step back, assess the situation objectively, and choose a path that reflects not just what feels good in the moment, but what truly serves your greater purpose. For instance, think about a time when you made a mistake. Instead of dwelling on regret, wisdom allows you to extract valuable lessons from that experience, transforming setbacks into stepping stones. This practice of reflection and learning is something we can all embrace. It's not about being perfect or knowing all the answers. It's about staying curious and open, even when life feels uncertain. Take a moment to consider how you've grown from past experiences. What lessons have shaped the way you approach challenges today? By committing to a lifelong pursuit of wisdom, you're not just building resilience, you're creating a life guided by intention and insight. And that, in itself, is a powerful way to thrive under pressure. Justice, as the Stoics saw it, wasn't just about laws or systems, it was a way of living. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply, "What is good for the bee is good for the hive." In other words, acting with fairness and respect isn't just a moral duty, it's the foundation of a thriving community. When we treat others with justice, we create harmony and build trust, which ripples out far beyond our immediate interactions. Think about it. How often do we encounter situations where fairness feels optional? Maybe it's a small moment, like giving credit where it's due, or something larger, like standing up for someone who's been overlooked. The Stoics believed that every action, no matter how small, should align with ethical principles. It's not just about doing the right thing when it's easy, it's about doing it even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Take a modern example, advocating for a colleague who deserves recognition but hasn't received it. It might feel easier to stay silent, but justice calls us to act. By speaking up, you're not just helping one person, you're reinforcing a culture of fairness and respect. This kind of behavior strengthens relationships and builds a sense of shared purpose. So, how can you practice justice in your own life? Start by noticing the moments where fairness feels optional. Maybe it's in how you listen to others, how you share opportunities, or how you respond to conflict. Each time you choose to act with integrity, you're not just living the Stoic virtue of justice, you're creating a world where trust and harmony can grow. And isn't that a world worth working toward? Now, let's explore one of the most practical yet profound Stoic techniques, the virtue of temperance. At its core, temperance is about moderation and self-control, learning to master our desires rather than letting them master us. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned about the dangers of excess when he said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea is as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. Excess, whether in material possessions, indulgence, or even our daily habits, can create chaos and stress in our lives. But temperance helps us find balance, grounding us in what truly matters. Think about something as simple as managing screen time. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with notifications, emails, and endless scrolling, it's easy to lose hours without realizing it. But practicing temperance here means setting boundaries, deciding when to put the phone down, when to step away from the screen, and when to focus on the present moment. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about reclaiming your time and energy for what truly enriches your life. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Where might you be overindulging, and how could a little moderation bring you more peace? Temperance isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Start small, and you'll find that even the smallest acts of self-control can lead to greater clarity, balance, and resilience in the face of life's pressures. One of the most powerful yet often overlooked Stoic practices is the art of self-denial. At first glance, it might sound counterintuitive. Why would anyone willingly give up pleasures or comforts? But for the Stoics, this wasn't about punishment or deprivation. It was about training the mind to thrive in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that true contentment doesn't come from external comforts but from our ability to find peace within, even when those comforts are absent. Think of it like building mental muscle. Just as an athlete trains by pushing their limits, self-denial strengthens your resilience by teaching you to adapt and find satisfaction in less. It's not about rejecting joy, but about proving to yourself that you don't need it to be okay. For example, try taking a break from social media for a week. Notice how it feels to step away from the constant stream of updates and distractions. You might find that instead of feeling deprived, you experience a sense of clarity and freedom. This practice also fosters gratitude. When you temporarily let go of something you usually take for granted, you create space to appreciate it more deeply. Imagine how much sweeter that first cup of coffee feels after a week without caffeine, or how much more meaningful a conversation becomes when you've stepped away from your phone. By practicing self-denial, you're not just building resilience, you're rewiring your mind to value what you have. So how can you apply this in your own life? Start small. Maybe it's skipping dessert one evening, turning off notifications for a day, or even taking a cold shower instead of a warm one. The goal isn't to make life harder, but to remind yourself that you're stronger than your cravings or habits. Over time, these small acts of self-denial can become a source of confidence, helping you face bigger challenges with a steadier mindset. Shifting our perspective can transform the way we see the world and the challenges we face. The Stoics understood this deeply, and Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our perception is the lens through which we interpret every event. And when we choose to reframe challenges as opportunities, we unlock a powerful tool for resilience and creativity. Think about it, every setback, every obstacle carries hidden potential. A missed promotion, for example, might feel like a failure in the moment, but what if instead of dwelling on disappointment, you saw it as a chance to refine your skills, explore new paths, or even discover a passion you hadn't considered before? This shift in perspective doesn't just soften the blow, it turns adversity into a stepping stone. The Stoic practice of reframing isn't about denying the difficulty of a situation. It's about choosing to see the possibilities within it. When you approach life with this mindset, you're not just surviving challenges, you're thriving because of them. Resilience grows when you believe that even the toughest moments have something to teach you. And creativity blooms when you start asking, what can I learn here? How can I grow from this? Take a moment to reflect. What's a challenge in your life right now that feels overwhelming? How might it look different if you viewed it as an opportunity rather than a roadblock? Shifting your perspective isn't always easy, but it's a skill that gets stronger with practice. And the more you use it, the more you'll find that even the most difficult situations can become sources of strength and inspiration. Patience is not just a virtue, it's a superpower in the Stoic toolkit. Seneca once said, "Every difficulty in life presents us with an opportunity to turn inward and to invoke our own inner resources." This idea is at the heart of the Stoic practice of patience. It's not about passively waiting for things to happen. It's about actively enduring challenges with calmness and perseverance, no matter how frustrating the situation may seem. Think about it, when we rush or resist the natural pace of life, we create unnecessary stress. But when we embrace patience, we shift our focus from what we can't control to what we can, our own reactions. This simple shift fosters resilience, helping us stay grounded even when the world feels chaotic. For instance, imagine waiting for a promotion at work. It's easy to feel overlooked or impatient, but a Stoic approach would remind us to focus on doing our best in the present moment, trusting that the right opportunities will come in their own time. So, how can we cultivate this kind of patience? Start by reframing delays or setbacks as opportunities to grow. Instead of seeing a long wait as wasted time, view it as a chance to practice self-control and strengthen your resolve. The next time you're stuck in traffic, waiting for an important email, or dealing with a slow-moving project, try to pause and ask yourself, how can I use this moment to build my patience? By doing so, you'll not only reduce frustration but also develop a deeper sense of inner calm, one that can carry you through even the toughest moments. One of the most transformative Stoic practices is the art of letting go, releasing our attachment to outcomes we can't control. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that while we can't always dictate the results of our efforts, we can control the effort itself. By focusing on what's within our power, our actions, intentions, and mindset, we free ourselves from the weight of expectations and the stress that comes with them. Imagine pouring your heart into a project only to see it fall short of your goals. It's easy to feel frustration or disappointment, but what if you shifted your focus? Instead of fixating on the outcome, consider the effort you put in, the skills you honed, and the lessons you learned. That's the essence of letting go. It's not about giving up, it's about redirecting your energy toward what truly matters, your growth, your resilience, and your ability to move forward. This mindset doesn't just reduce stress, it fosters a deeper sense of peace. When we stop tying our worth to outcomes, we create space for clarity and calm. Think about a time when you held onto something too tightly, a job, a relationship, or even a personal goal. What did it feel like? Now, imagine releasing that grip, not out of defeat, but out of understanding that some things are beyond your control. That's where true freedom lies. So how can you start practicing this today? Reflect on an area of your life where you feel overly attached to a specific result. Maybe it's a work deadline, a personal milestone, or even a disagreement with someone. Instead of focusing on how it turns out, ask yourself, what can I control here? How can I approach this with integrity and effort, regardless of the outcome? By embracing this Stoic principle, you'll find that letting go isn't a loss, it's a path to resilience and inner peace. Humility is one of the most underrated yet transformative Stoic virtues, and it's a practice that can profoundly shift how we handle pressure. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows." This simple yet powerful idea reminds us that true growth begins when we acknowledge our limitations and open ourselves to learning from others. Humility isn't about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking of yourself less. It's about stepping back from the ego's need to be right, to be seen, or to be in control, and instead embracing the wisdom that comes from being teachable. In a world that often rewards confidence and self-promotion, humility might feel counterintuitive, but here's the thing. When we practice humility, we free ourselves from the weight of perfectionism and the stress of constantly trying to prove our worth. Think about it. How much energy do we waste trying to defend our ego, to avoid criticism, or to appear infallible? Humility, on the other hand, allows us to breathe. It lets us say, "I don't have all the answers, and that's okay." It creates space for growth, for collaboration, and for genuine connection with others. Take a modern example. Imagine you're at work and you've just completed a project. Instead of brushing off feedback or defending every decision, you actively seek input from your colleagues. You listen, not to argue or justify, but to learn. This small act of humility not only improves your work but also strengthens your relationships and reduces the pressure to be flawless. It's a reminder that we're all works in progress and there's no shame in that. So how can you practice humility in your own life? Start by asking yourself, where am I holding onto the need to be right? Where could I benefit from listening more and speaking less? It might be in your personal relationships, your career, or even your hobbies. The beauty of humility is that it's a practice, one that grows stronger with intentional effort. And as you cultivate it, you'll likely find that it not only eases the pressure you feel, but also deepens your ability to connect with the world around you. Now, let's explore a principle that lies at the very heart of Stoicism, the power of acceptance. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that much of our pain comes not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them. Acceptance, as the Stoics teach, is about recognizing what lies within our control and what doesn't. It's about letting go of the fight against the inevitable and finding peace in the face of life's uncertainties. Think about it. How often do we exhaust ourselves trying to change things that are simply beyond our reach? Whether it's a sudden health diagnosis, an unexpected job loss, or even the weather on a day you planned an outdoor event, resistance only amplifies the struggle. Acceptance, on the other hand, doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to despair. Instead, it's about shifting your focus to what you can do rather than fixating on what you can't. Take, for example, someone receiving a challenging health diagnosis. The initial reaction might be fear, anger, or denial, emotions that are entirely human and understandable. But the Stoic approach would be to acknowledge the reality of the situation, accept it as something outside of their control, and then channel their energy into the actions they can take, like seeking treatment, adjusting their lifestyle, or finding emotional support. This mindset doesn't erase the difficulty, but it does create space for resilience and clarity. So, how can you start practicing this kind of acceptance in your own life? Begin by identifying areas where you're resisting reality. Is there a situation you've been fighting against, even though it's beyond your power to change? Reflect on how shifting your perspective might bring you a sense of calm. Remember, acceptance isn't about weakness, it's about strength. It's about choosing to focus on what truly matters, even when life doesn't go as planned. By embracing this Stoic principle, you'll find that acceptance becomes a powerful tool for reducing unnecessary suffering and cultivating a deeper sense of peace. It's not always easy, but as Seneca reminds us, the effort is more than worth it. Let's talk about simplicity, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy that's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." What he's pointing to here is the profound idea that a life of meaning doesn't require endless possessions, constant stimulation, or external validation. Instead, it's about stripping away the unnecessary so that what truly matters can shine through. Think about it. How often do we feel overwhelmed, not because of the challenges life throws at us, but because we've cluttered our lives with distractions? The Stoics believed that simplicity wasn't just about physical possessions, it was about mental clarity too. By reducing the noise around us, we create space to focus on what's essential. It's like clearing out a cluttered room. Suddenly, you can breathe, think, and move with purpose. In our modern world, simplicity might look like decluttering your home or streamlining your daily routine. But it could also mean saying no to things that drain your energy, whether it's unnecessary commitments, toxic relationships, or the endless scroll of social media. When you let go of what doesn't serve you, you make room for what does: meaningful connections, intentional actions, and a deeper sense of peace. So, how can you start embracing this practice? Take a moment to reflect on what's weighing you down. Is it a physical space that feels chaotic? A habit that no longer aligns with your values? Or maybe it's a mindset that keeps you chasing things you don't truly need? Whatever it is, the act of simplifying is a powerful step toward reclaiming your focus and living with greater intention. The Stoics remind us that less really can be more if we're willing to let go of what's holding us back. Now let's turn our attention to one of the most transformative Stoic practices: reflection. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our thoughts shape our reality. Reflection, then, becomes a tool to examine those thoughts and actions, helping us uncover the root of our emotions and decisions. It's not just about looking back, it's about understanding why we feel or act the way we do, so we can grow and make clearer choices moving forward. Imagine you're faced with a challenging decision at work or in your personal life. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause and reflect. Why does this situation bother you? What assumptions or fears are driving your response? By stepping back and examining your thoughts, you gain clarity. You might realize that the pressure you feel isn't about the situation itself, but about your fear of failure or judgment. This kind of self-awareness is empowering. It allows you to respond with intention rather than react out of habit. Reflection doesn't have to be a complicated process. It can be as simple as setting aside a few minutes at the end of each day to ask yourself, what went well today? What could I have handled differently? What did I learn? Over time, this practice builds a deeper understanding of yourself and your patterns, helping you navigate life's challenges with greater calm and confidence. Think about your own life for a moment. When was the last time you paused to reflect on a tough day or a difficult choice? What might you discover if you took a step back and examined your thoughts and actions more closely? Reflection isn't just a Stoic exercise, it's a way to cultivate growth, clarity, and resilience in every area of your life. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit, yet it's often one of the hardest to wield. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." These words remind us that holding onto resentment doesn't punish the person who wronged us, it punishes us. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of bitterness, robbing us of the peace and clarity we deserve. Forgiveness, then, isn't about excusing someone else's actions. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of anger and resentment. So how does forgiveness work in practice? Imagine a close friend cancels plans last minute, leaving you frustrated and disappointed. The Stoic approach isn't to suppress your feelings or pretend it doesn't matter. Instead, it's about recognizing that their actions are outside your control, and your reaction is the only thing you can truly govern. By choosing to forgive, you release the tension and stress that come with holding a grudge. You reclaim your inner calm and refocus your energy on what truly matters. This practice doesn't just apply to big betrayals, it's equally valuable in everyday moments. Maybe a coworker overlooked your contribution in a meeting, or a family member said something hurtful in the heat of the moment. These small grievances, when left unchecked, can pile up and drain your emotional reserves. Forgiveness allows you to let go, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve to move forward without carrying that burden. Take a moment to reflect. Is there someone or something you're holding onto that's weighing you down? What would it feel like to release that resentment, even just a little? Forgiveness isn't about forgetting or condoning. It's about choosing peace over pain and freedom over frustration. It's a daily practice, a habit of the mind that strengthens your resilience and deepens your capacity for joy. So, where can you start today? Adaptability is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic arsenal, and it's a skill that can transform how we navigate life's uncertainties. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that challenges aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities to adapt and grow. Stoicism teaches us to embrace change rather than resist it, to flow with life's currents instead of fighting against them. When we cultivate adaptability, we build resilience, and that resilience becomes our anchor in turbulent times. Think about a situation like starting a new job. Everything feels unfamiliar, different routines, new colleagues, and a steep learning curve. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or even resistant to the change. But what if, instead of focusing on the discomfort, you saw it as a chance to learn, to stretch your abilities, and to grow? That's the Stoic approach. Adaptability isn't about passively accepting whatever happens. It's about actively engaging with change, finding the opportunities within it, and using them to your advantage. So, how can you begin to cultivate this mindset in your own life? Start by noticing when you feel resistant to change. Maybe it's a shift in your personal life, a new responsibility at work, or even something as small as a change in your daily routine. Instead of reacting with frustration or fear, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this situation to become stronger or more capable? By reframing the challenge, you take the first step toward adaptability. And in doing so, you unlock a new level of resilience. This isn't just about surviving change, it's about thriving in the face of it. When you embrace adaptability, you stop seeing life's twists and turns as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities. And that shift in perspective, that's where true growth begins. Now, let's turn our attention to a practice that might seem surprising in the context of Stoicism: compassion. While Stoics are often associated with emotional resilience and self-discipline, compassion is actually a cornerstone of their philosophy. Epictetus once said, "What is the fruit of these teachings? Only the most beautiful and proper harvest of a truly educated person: tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom." But we should not forget that these are not just for ourselves, they are also meant to help us live harmoniously with others. This idea reminds us that Stoicism isn't about isolating ourselves from the world, but about engaging with it thoughtfully and empathetically. Compassion, in the Stoic sense, isn't about sentimentality or blind agreement. It's about understanding the shared human experience, recognizing that everyone is navigating their own struggles just as we are. When we approach others with kindness and empathy, we not only ease their burdens but also reduce the friction and conflict that can arise in our relationships. Imagine a colleague who's visibly overwhelmed at work. Instead of judging their performance or adding to their stress, what if you offered a word of encouragement or a simple gesture of support? That act of compassion doesn't just help them, it strengthens the bond between you and creates a more positive environment for everyone. This practice also has a profound effect on us. By extending compassion to others, we train ourselves to see beyond our immediate frustrations and biases. It's a way of reminding ourselves that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools they have. And in doing so, we cultivate a sense of connection and purpose that aligns with Stoic principles of living in harmony with the world around us. So, take a moment to reflect. Where in your life can you practice a little more compassion today? It might be as simple as listening without judgment or offering a helping hand when it's least expected. These small acts can have a ripple effect, transforming not just your relationships but also your own sense of inner peace. Let's talk about the power of focus, a skill the Stoics held in high regard. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that without focus, we drift aimlessly, wasting time and energy on things that don't truly matter. The Stoic practice of concentrating on what's essential isn't just about productivity, it's about reclaiming control over our attention and, in turn, our lives. Think about how often we're pulled in a dozen directions at once. Emails, notifications, endless to-do lists, they all compete for our attention, leaving us feeling scattered and overwhelmed. But what if, instead of reacting to every distraction, we chose to focus on one thing at a time? Take a moment to consider your workday. How much more could you accomplish if you gave your full attention to a single task, free from interruptions? The Stoics believed that by narrowing our focus, we not only get more done but also create space for meaningful progress. Imagine sitting down to write a report or finish a project without checking your phone or jumping to another task halfway through. That kind of deliberate focus can transform not just your work but your sense of calm and clarity. Here's a challenge for you. Pick one thing today, just one, and give it your undivided attention. Whether it's a conversation with a loved one, a work assignment, or even a moment of reflection, practice the art of focus. Notice how it feels to be fully present, free from the chaos of distractions. How might this small shift change the way you approach your day? The Stoics knew that focus isn't just a tool for getting things done. It's a way of living with intention and purpose. One of the most profound yet practical teachings of Stoicism is the concept of integrity, aligning your actions with your values, no matter the circumstances. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be one." This simple yet powerful statement reminds us that living authentically isn't about grand declarations or external validation. It's about embodying your principles in every choice you make. When your actions reflect your core values, you build trust, not just with others but with yourself. Think about it. Have you ever compromised your values for convenience or approval? That inner conflict, that nagging sense of dissonance, is what happens when integrity takes a backseat. On the other hand, when you stand firm in your beliefs, even when it's difficult, you create a sense of harmony within yourself. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and someone makes a comment that goes against your ethical standards. Speaking up might feel risky. You might worry about being seen as difficult or making waves. But when you choose to voice your concerns respectfully, you're practicing integrity. You're showing up as the person you aspire to be, not just the person others expect you to be. Integrity isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about making small, deliberate choices that honor what you believe in. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life can you align your actions more closely with your values? Maybe it's in how you treat others, how you handle challenges, or even how you spend your time. Every act of integrity, no matter how small, strengthens your character and deepens your sense of purpose. It's not always easy, but as the Stoics remind us, it's always worth it. Resilience is at the heart of Stoicism, a philosophy that doesn't just endure hardship but thrives because of it. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that resilience isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about how we choose to face them. When we embrace this mindset, we shift our focus from what we can't control to what we can. Our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude, and that's where true strength lies. Think about a time when you faced a setback, maybe a project at work didn't go as planned, or a personal goal felt out of reach. In those moments, it's easy to feel defeated, to let fear of failure take over. But Stoicism teaches us to see setbacks differently. They're not roadblocks, they're opportunities to grow. Every challenge is a chance to practice resilience, to build the mental muscle that allows us to rise stronger each time. It's not about never falling, it's about learning how to get back up with grace and determination. Imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. At first, it might feel like a crushing blow, a failure that defines them. But with a Stoic mindset, they can reframe that experience. Instead of seeing it as the end, they might ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this situation to grow?" By focusing on what they can control, like updating their skills, networking, or exploring new opportunities, they transform a setback into a stepping stone. That's the power of resilience. It turns adversity into fuel for progress. So, how can you build this kind of resilience in your own life? Start by reflecting on past challenges. What did you learn from them? How did they shape you? Then, think about the obstacles you're facing now. Instead of letting fear hold you back, ask yourself, what's within my control and how can I move forward? Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's a skill you develop one step at a time, and every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen it. One of the most transformative Stoic practices is the act of giving without expecting anything in return. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, put it beautifully when he said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This isn't just about material gifts, it's about offering your time, your attention, or even your compassion. Generosity, in the Stoic sense, is a way to remind yourself that you're part of something larger. It pulls you out of self-centered thinking and helps you connect with others in a meaningful way. Think about it. When you give freely, without expecting praise or reciprocation, you're practicing a form of detachment. You're not giving to gain something, you're giving because it's the right thing to do. This aligns with Stoic principles, which emphasize focusing on what's within your control, your actions, rather than worrying about how others respond. Generosity becomes a way to strengthen your character, to act virtuously even when no one is watching. In today's world, this could look like donating to a cause you believe in, volunteering your time, or simply offering a listening ear to someone in need. These small acts of kindness ripple outward, creating a sense of connection and purpose. They also remind us that we have the power to make a difference, even in small ways. So take a moment to reflect. How can you practice generosity today? It doesn't have to be grand or elaborate. It could be as simple as holding the door for someone or offering a kind word. Every act of giving, no matter how small, is a step toward living a more stoic and more fulfilling life. Clarity is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic arsenal, and it's something Marcus Aurelius emphasized time and again. He once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, what we focus on shapes who we become. When our minds are clouded with distractions, emotions, or irrational fears, our decisions suffer. But when we strive for clarity, we can see things as they truly are, not as we fear or wish them to be. This practice of clear thinking cuts through the noise, helping us make informed, rational choices even in the most chaotic moments. Think about a time when you had to make a difficult decision. Maybe it was choosing between two job offers, ending a relationship, or deciding how to handle a financial challenge. In those moments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by emotions like fear, doubt, or anxiety. But clarity acts like a flashlight in the dark. It helps you see the facts, weigh the pros and cons, and move forward with confidence. Stoicism teaches us to pause, step back, and ask ourselves, what's really at stake here? What's within my control and what's not? By stripping away the layers of emotion and focusing on what's essential, we can make decisions that align with our values and long-term goals. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're considering a career change. The thought of leaving a stable job for something new might fill you with uncertainty. But clarity allows you to break it down. What are the risks? What are the potential rewards? What skills or resources do you have to make this transition? By approaching the situation with a clear mind, you can move from confusion to confidence, knowing you've made a thoughtful choice rather than an impulsive one. So how can you cultivate this kind of clarity in your own life? Start by creating space for reflection. This could mean journaling, meditating, or simply taking a walk to clear your head. Ask yourself honest questions about what you truly want and what's standing in your way. And remember, clarity isn't about having all the answers. It's about seeing the situation as it is without the fog of fear or wishful thinking. When you practice this regularly, you'll find that clarity becomes a natural part of how you navigate life's challenges, big and small. The practice of detachment is one of the most liberating principles Stoicism offers. At its core, it's about recognizing that our happiness and peace of mind shouldn't be tied to the things we own. Epictetus put it perfectly when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that clinging too tightly to material things often leads to anxiety, stress, and a sense of being trapped by our own desires. When we let go of the need to accumulate or hold onto possessions, we create space for something far more valuable: freedom. Freedom from the fear of loss, freedom from the constant chase for more, and freedom to focus on what truly matters in life. Think about it. How much of your energy is spent worrying about things you own or things you wish you had? Detachment doesn't mean giving up everything. It's about shifting your mindset so that these things no longer control you. A modern example of this could be something as practical as downsizing your home. Many people find that living with less space and fewer belongings not only simplifies their lives but also brings a surprising sense of relief. It's not about deprivation, it's about choosing what truly adds value and letting go of what doesn't. This practice can apply to anything from decluttering your wardrobe to reconsidering how much you really need that latest gadget. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing in your life that you're holding onto out of habit or fear, even though it no longer serves you? By practicing detachment, even in small ways, you might find yourself feeling lighter, more focused, and less weighed down by the pressures of modern life. It's not about rejecting the world, it's about reclaiming your peace of mind. Persistence is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, a quiet yet unyielding force that turns obstacles into opportunities. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that persistence isn't just about pushing through hardship, it's about growing stronger because of it. When we commit to enduring challenges, we build resilience, not just in our actions but in our mindset. Fear of failure diminishes because we begin to see setbacks not as roadblocks but as stepping stones. Think about a long-term goal you've been working toward, whether it's mastering a skill, building a career, or even improving a relationship. The path is rarely smooth and setbacks are inevitable. But Stoicism teaches us that persistence isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. Each time you choose to keep going, you're not just moving closer to your goal, you're also training your mind to handle adversity with grace. Take, for example, someone training for a marathon. The first few runs might feel grueling, and there will be days when quitting seems easier than continuing. But with each step, each mile, the runner isn't just building physical endurance, they're cultivating mental toughness. They're proving to themselves that they can endure discomfort and keep going, which is a lesson that extends far beyond the race itself. So, how can you apply this Stoic principle of persistence in your own life? Start small. Identify one area where you felt stuck or hesitant and commit to taking consistent action, no matter how minor it may seem. Reflect on how each small effort contributes to your growth. Over time, you'll find that persistence isn't just a tool for achieving goals. It's a mindset that transforms how you approach life's challenges. What's one thing you can persist in today, even if it feels difficult? Stoicism teaches us that the present moment is the only place where life truly happens. Everything else is either a memory or a possibility. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions." This powerful idea reminds us that mindfulness isn't just a modern buzzword. It's a timeless practice rooted in the Stoic tradition. By anchoring ourselves in the here and now, we strip away the noise of regret about the past or worry about the future. Anxiety thrives when our minds wander into the unknown, but mindfulness pulls us back to what we can control: this moment, this breath, this task at hand. Think about it. When was the last time you truly focused on what you were doing without being pulled in 10 different directions? For many of us, the answer is rare. Yet, Stoicism shows us that mindfulness isn't about grand gestures or hours of meditation. It's about small, intentional acts. For example, when you're washing dishes, focus on the sensation of the water, the texture of the plates, and the rhythm of your movements. When you're talking to someone, really listen, don't just wait for your turn to speak. These simple practices train your mind to stay grounded, reducing anxiety and creating space for clarity. A modern parallel to this Stoic mindset is meditation, which has become a cornerstone of mental well-being for millions, but you don't have to sit cross-legged for hours to benefit. Even a few minutes of deep breathing or a mindful walk can help you reconnect with the present. The key is consistency. Start small. Maybe dedicate 5 minutes a day to simply observe your thoughts without judgment. Over time, you'll notice how this practice builds resilience, helping you face challenges with a calmer, more focused mind. So, how can you bring this Stoic habit of mindfulness into your own life? Begin by identifying moments in your day where you tend to drift, perhaps during your commute, while scrolling on your phone, or even in conversations. Challenge yourself to be fully present in those moments. Notice the details, engage with intention, and let go of distractions. By doing so, you're not just practicing mindfulness, you're embodying the Stoic ideal of living with purpose and presence. Picture this: you're faced with a tempting distraction. Maybe it's that extra hour of scrolling through your phone when you know you should be working, or skipping your morning workout because hitting snooze feels so much easier in the moment. These are the kinds of choices that test our self-discipline, and according to the Stoics, mastering these moments is where true strength lies. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply: no man is free who is not master of himself. Self-discipline, in his view, isn't just about resisting temptation, it's about reclaiming your freedom by taking control of your impulses and desires. So, what does that look like in practice? Think about something as straightforward as sticking to a workout routine. It's not just about building physical strength, it's a daily exercise in self-mastery. Every time you choose to show up for that workout, you're training your mind to prioritize long-term growth over short-term comfort. This kind of discipline doesn't just make you physically stronger, it sharpens your focus, reduces distractions, and builds the mental resilience you need to tackle bigger challenges. But here's the thing: self-discipline isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Maybe you missed a workout last week, or gave in to that late-night snack when you promised yourself you wouldn't. That's okay. What matters is recognizing those moments and asking yourself, how can I do better next time? How can I strengthen my resolve, even just a little? Take a moment to reflect on where you might be letting distractions take the lead. What's one small step you can take today to practice more self-discipline? It doesn't have to be monumental, just something that moves you closer to being the master of your own choices. Because when you control your impulses, you're not just building habits, you're building a life of focus, freedom, and purpose. Imagine ending your day by reflecting on the moments that brought you joy or peace, no matter how small. This is the essence of gratitude journaling, a practice deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." What he's pointing to here is the transformative power of gratitude, a reminder to focus on what we already have rather than what we lack. By taking time to acknowledge the good in our lives, we shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance, and in doing so, we begin to untangle the stress and pressure that often cloud our mind. Gratitude journaling doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Maybe it's the warmth of your morning coffee, a kind word from a friend, or even the quiet moment you had to yourself. Over time, this small act builds a habit of noticing the positive, even in challenging situations. And here's the beauty of it: by training your mind to focus on what's going well, you naturally reduce the weight of stress and anxiety. It's like building a mental shield against life's inevitable pressures. Think about it: how often do we rush through our days without pausing to appreciate the little victories? A modern take on this Stoic practice might look like keeping a daily gratitude journal. It's a way to ground yourself, to reconnect with the present moment, and to cultivate a sense of calm amidst the chaos. So here's a question to consider. What's one thing you're grateful for today? And more importantly, how might starting this simple habit change the way you approach the challenges ahead? One of the most transformative Stoic practices is learning to recognize and celebrate the power of small wins. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks." At first glance, this might not seem directly related to small victories, but think about it. How do we prepare for life's challenges? By building resilience through consistent, incremental progress. It's the small wins, those seemingly insignificant moments of progress, that lay the foundation for long-term success. Celebrating small achievements isn't about inflating your ego or chasing constant validation. Instead, it's a way to stay grounded and motivated, especially when the path ahead feels overwhelming. Imagine you're working on a big project or tackling a personal goal. The sheer scale of it might feel paralyzing, but what if, instead of focusing on the finish line, you pause to acknowledge the little steps you've already taken? Maybe it's finishing a chapter of a book, organizing one corner of your workspace, or simply showing up when you didn't feel like it. These small wins are proof of your commitment and effort, and they deserve to be recognized. This Stoic approach shifts your perspective. Rather than being consumed by the enormity of a task, you learn to break it down into manageable pieces. Each time you complete one of those pieces, you're not just moving forward, you're reinforcing your ability to handle challenges. It's like stacking bricks, one at a time. They build something solid and enduring. And here's the beauty of it. When you celebrate these moments, you're not just acknowledging progress. You're training your mind to focus on what's within your control, which is a core Stoic principle. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's one small win you've had recently? Maybe it's something as simple as waking up 5 minutes earlier, resisting a distraction, or making time for a brief moment of reflection. These might seem minor, but they're stepping stones toward a more disciplined and intentional life. By embracing this mindset, you'll find that even on the hardest days, there's always something to appreciate, a reminder that progress, no matter how small, is still progress. And that's worth celebrating. One of the most immediate and practical tools the Stoics left us is the simple yet profound act of deep breathing. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them." This insight reminds us that our reactions often stem from our internal state, and one of the most effective ways to regain control is by calming the mind through deliberate, focused breathing. When you feel stress building or your thoughts racing, your breath becomes a lifeline back to clarity. Deep breathing works because it directly engages your body's natural relaxation response. By slowing your breath, you signal to your nervous system that it's safe to relax, which in turn quiets the mental chatter and sharpens your focus. It's a practice rooted in ancient wisdom but perfectly suited for modern challenges. Imagine, for instance, you're about to give a presentation and your nerves are on edge. Instead of letting anxiety take over, you pause and take 3 slow, deep breaths. In that moment, you're not just calming your body, you're reclaiming your mental space, allowing yourself to respond rather than react. This technique isn't just for high-pressure situations, though. It's a daily habit that can help you maintain equilibrium, even in the face of life's smaller irritations. Maybe it's a frustrating commute, a difficult conversation, or even the weight of a busy schedule. Each of these moments offers an opportunity to pause, breathe deeply, and return to a place of calm. The beauty of this practice is its simplicity. It requires no special tools, no extra time, just a conscious decision to connect with your breath. So here's a challenge for you. The next time you feel tension rising, take a moment to notice your breathing. Are your breaths shallow and quick? Try inhaling deeply through your nose, holding for a count of 4, and exhaling slowly through your mouth. Repeat this a few times and observe how it shifts your perspective. How might this small act of mindfulness change the way you handle stress? By making deep breathing a regular part of your routine, you're not just managing pressure, you're building resilience one breath at a time. One of the most underappreciated tools in the Stoic toolkit is the power of routine. Seneca once said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." What he meant is that without a sense of direction, without habits and routines that anchor us, we're at the mercy of life's chaos. Routine isn't about monotony, it's about creating a foundation of stability, a structure that allows us to focus on what truly matters. Think about it, when your day is filled with unpredictability, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But when you have a routine, even a simple one, you create pockets of calm within the storm. For instance, a morning routine, whether it's journaling, meditation, or a brisk walk, sets the tone for the day. It's a moment of clarity before the world starts making demands. So, what does your routine look like? Is it intentional, or does it feel like a series of reactions to whatever life throws at you? The Stoics believed that by establishing consistent habits, we not only reduce chaos but also create space for growth and reflection. Small, deliberate actions repeated daily can transform how we respond to pressure and uncertainty. Take a moment to reflect. What's one habit you could introduce or refine to bring more stability and purpose to your day? It doesn't have to be grand. Even the smallest routines can have a profound impact when they're aligned with your values and goals. One of the most transformative Stoic practices is the habit of self-reflection, a deliberate pause to examine your thoughts, actions, and decisions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea underscores the importance of self-awareness. By regularly looking inward, we gain clarity about what we can control and what we cannot, which is the foundation of Stoic wisdom. Self-reflection isn't just about reviewing what went wrong, it's about learning and growing. When you take time to assess your day, you might notice patterns, moments where you reacted impulsively or let external pressures dictate your emotions. Recognizing these patterns allows you to make better choices in the future. For instance, imagine coming home after a stressful day at work. Instead of dwelling on frustration, you sit quietly and ask yourself, "Why did this bother me so much? What could I have done differently?" This kind of honest inquiry helps you identify areas for improvement and reduces the likelihood of repeating the same mistakes. In today's fast-paced world, self-reflection might seem like a luxury, but it's actually a necessity. Think of it as mental maintenance. Just as you'd service a car to keep it running smoothly, you need to check in with yourself to stay emotionally and mentally balanced. A modern example could be journaling at the end of the day, jotting down what went well, what didn't, and how you responded. This practice not only deepens your self-awareness but also helps you cultivate resilience over time. So, how can you start incorporating self-reflection into your life? Begin with small, consistent steps. Set aside just 5 minutes at the end of your day to review your experiences. Ask yourself questions like, did I act in alignment with my values today? What could I do better tomorrow? Over time, this habit will sharpen your self-awareness, help you navigate challenges with greater ease, and ultimately lead to a more intentional and fulfilling life. The key is to approach it with curiosity, not judgment, because growth begins with understanding. Picture this: you're in the middle of a heated argument, emotions are running high, and every word feels like it's adding fuel to the fire. In moments like these, the Stoics had a surprising yet powerful tool at their disposal: silence. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This isn't just a clever observation, it's a reminder of the dangers of reactive speech. When we let anger or frustration dictate our words, we often say things we later regret. But silence gives us the space to pause, reflect, and respond with intention rather than impulse. Think about it. How many conflicts could have been avoided or de-escalated if someone had simply chosen not to engage in the heat of the moment? Silence isn't about ignoring the issue or giving in. It's about refusing to let the situation spiral out of control. By staying silent, you create a buffer between the other person's emotions and your own. This buffer allows you to step back, assess the situation, and decide how to move forward with clarity and purpose. Imagine you're in a disagreement with a coworker. Instead of firing back with a sharp retort, you take a deep breath and remain silent. That silence can diffuse tension, giving both of you the chance to cool down and approach the issue more constructively. It's not easy. Our instinct is often to defend ourselves or have the last word, but the Stoics understood that true strength lies in self-control. Silence in this context becomes an act of discipline and wisdom, not weakness. So, the next time you find yourself in a tense conversation, try this. Pause before you speak. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Notice how it changes the dynamic, how it gives you the upper hand, not by overpowering the other person, but by mastering your own reactions. How might your relationships improve if you embraced this practice more often? How much clearer could your decisions be if you gave yourself the gift of quiet reflection before responding? Silence, as the Stoics knew, isn't just the absence of noise. It's a tool for growth, understanding, and peace. Imagine sitting down to a meal, not just to fill your stomach, but to truly experience it every bite, every flavor, every moment. This is the essence of mindful eating, a Stoic practice that encourages us to approach food with intention and gratitude. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea of moderation isn't just about limiting what we consume. It's about appreciating what we have and finding contentment in simplicity. When we eat mindfully, we slow down. We notice the textures, the aromas, the effort that went into preparing the meal. This practice isn't just about food, it's about cultivating awareness in every aspect of life. By savoring each bite, we train ourselves to be present, to resist the urge to rush through experiences or overindulge. It's a way to reconnect with the moment and, in doing so, foster both physical health and mental clarity. Think about the last time you truly enjoyed a meal without distractions, no phone, no TV, no hurry. What did you notice? Maybe it was the richness of the flavors or the way the food made you feel. That's the power of mindful eating. It's not about perfection. It's about creating small moments of gratitude and presence. So, how can you bring this Stoic habit into your own life? Start small. Choose one meal a day to eat without distractions. Pay attention to how the food tastes, how it makes you feel, and even the effort that went into preparing it. Over time, this simple practice can help you build a healthier relationship with food and with yourself. After all, as the Stoics remind us, true wealth lies not in having more, but in needing less. There's something profoundly transformative about stepping away from the noise of the world and spending time alone with your thoughts. The Stoics understood this deeply, and Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This isn't just poetic advice, it's a practical tool for thriving under pressure. Solitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about creating space to reconnect with yourself, to reflect, and to recharge. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by the demands of life, work, relationships, or even the constant buzz of social media. It's easy to get swept up in the chaos, but the Stoics remind us that true clarity often comes when we step back and allow ourselves to be still. Solitude gives you the chance to untangle your thoughts, to ask yourself what truly matters, and to return to the world with a clearer sense of purpose. One simple way to practice this is through something as accessible as a solo walk. Imagine stepping outside, leaving your phone behind, and just letting your mind wander. No agenda, no distractions, just you, your thoughts, and the rhythm of your steps. It's in moments like these that you might find solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable, or rediscover a sense of calm you thought you'd lost. But solitude doesn't have to involve long, meditative retreats. It can be as small as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly, journal, or simply breathe. The key is to make it intentional, a deliberate act of self-care that helps you reset and refocus. So, how can you embrace solitude in your own life? What moments in your day could you reclaim for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes? Reflect on that, because in the stillness, you might just find the strength and clarity you need to face whatever challenges come your way. Let's shift our focus to one of the most underrated yet transformative Stoic practices, active listening. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This simple yet profound observation reminds us that true understanding begins not with talking, but with really hearing what others have to say. Active listening is more than just staying quiet while someone else speaks. It's about being fully present, setting aside your own thoughts, and giving the other person the space to be heard. In a world where distractions are constant and conversations often feel rushed, Stoic listening teaches us to slow down and engage deeply. When you listen actively, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. Instead, you're tuning into the emotions, intentions, and unspoken words behind what's being said. This kind of listening fosters genuine connection, reduces misunderstandings, and builds trust. Think about it. How often do arguments or conflicts arise simply because one person felt unheard? Take a modern example. Imagine a friend sharing their struggles with you. Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed at work or navigating a tough relationship. Instead of jumping in with advice or trying to fix their problem, you pause. You listen without judgment, reflecting back what they've shared to show you understand. This act alone can be incredibly validating for them, and for you, it's an exercise in humility and empathy. So, how can you practice this in your own life? Start small. The next time someone speaks to you, resist the urge to interrupt or plan your response. Focus entirely on their words, their tone, and their body language. Ask clarifying questions if needed, not to steer the conversation, but to truly grasp their perspective. Over time, you'll find that this Stoic habit not only strengthens your relationships, but also helps you approach life with greater patience and understanding. Active listening is a quiet power, one that transforms conversations, deepens connections, and reminds us of the value of truly being present for others. It's a practice that, like so much of Stoicism, feels simple but carries profound impact. Let's close out this journey with one of the most transformative Stoic principles, living with purpose. Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that a life of meaning begins with intention. Purpose isn't something that happens to us. It's something we actively create by aligning our actions with what truly matters. Think about it. When you have a clear sense of direction, even the most challenging tasks feel worthwhile. Purpose gives you resilience in the face of setbacks and clarity when the path ahead seems uncertain. It's the antidote to aimlessness, the thing that turns the mundane into the meaningful. For example, imagine dedicating time to a passion project, something that lights you up, whether it's writing, painting, or mentoring others. Even when obstacles arise, that sense of purpose keeps you grounded and motivated. So take a moment to reflect. What gives your life meaning right now? Are there areas where you feel adrift or disconnected? The Stoics believed that living with intention isn't just about grand achievements. It's about finding purpose in the everyday, in the small decisions that shape who you are. How can you align your daily actions with what truly matters to you? Purpose isn't a destination. It's a way of moving through the world, and it's within your power to cultivate it, starting today. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to revisit the heart of what we've explored. The 50 Stoic techniques we've discussed aren't just tools, they're a way of life, a mindset that equips you to face pressure with clarity and strength. Whether it's building resilience to bounce back from setbacks, staying present to focus on what truly matters, or cultivating gratitude to find light even in the darkest moments, these practices are your foundation for thriving under pressure. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words remind us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond, and that's where the true power lies. As you reflect on these techniques, think about which ones resonate most deeply with you. Maybe it's the practice of focusing on what's within your control, or perhaps it's the habit of reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Whatever it is, take that insight and carry it forward. Start small. Apply one technique today and see how it transforms your perspective. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these Stoic principles feels most meaningful in your life right now? How do you plan to put them into action? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is a space for us to learn and grow together. And if you found value in this video, consider subscribing for more insights on living with purpose, resilience, and calm. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, the power to thrive under pressure is already within you. You just have